Hello all, welcome to this report on erosion and archaeology on the Pecho Coast. The goal of this report is to assess the vulnerability of the Pecho Coast to the natural processes of erosion. The primary reason for this investigation is to highlight areas of the coast where erosion has the potential to cause loss of archaeological sites to the ocean. The Pecho Coast is a region stretching from Montana de Oro State Park in the north to Avila Beach and Port San Luis in the south. The coastline here is very remote and rugged, with much of the intertidal zone and above characterized by steep cliffs and bluffs. The Pecho Coast is an archaeologically rich area that is the ancestral home of the Obispeño Chumash. The first archaeological investigations of this area were conducted by Roberta Greenwood in 1968 in response to the construction of the road to the Diablo Canyon power plant. Pictured here is a hand-drawn map by Roberta Greenwood of the Pecho Coast and the subsequent sites that she investigated. In the north you can see the Diablo Canyon running out to the ocean with the cluster of sites that she investigated in response to the power plant construction there. Now the first step in this report was to identify areas with high erosion on this piece of coast. First, LiDAR data for the Pecho Coast was downloaded from the Digital Coast Data Access Portal curated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Datasets were downloaded from 3 different surveys, 1998, 2010, and 2016. Data was downloaded and imported into ArcPro in .tiff raster format. Then the slope spatial ANOS tool was run on each dataset in order to gain an idea of the topography of the region. Here you can see an example of the raster that resulted from the slope analyst tool. And scrolling down, you can see the slope raster compared with the LiDAR data that was downloaded from DigitalOceans. In order to compare these rasters, raster calculator was used to find the difference between the years 2010 and 2016. There was an issue with the 1998 dataset as the spatial resolution was significantly more coarse than the following 2 datasets in 2010 and 2016. Because of this, that data was thrown out and the 2 years, 2010-2016, were used. Here's an example of the formula used in raster calculator for the LiDAR raster in order to find the difference between those 2 years. At this point, there are 2 rasters associated with each dataset, one highlighting areas where slope has increased and the other highlighting areas where the surface has lost volume. This interactive map compares those 2 layers and attempts to highlight the differences in their usability. The red layer shows changes in slope between these 2 years, and the yellow layer shows changes in elevation. It can be seen that there are differences between these 2 layers as a result of the difference in data type. Going forward, I've chosen to use the yellow layer, or the digital elevation model difference, as it most accurately identifies areas with a loss of land. Now the final step in this report was to compare the elevation and erosion data to previous archaeological investigations. Since we are trying to identify areas that have the potential to be lost to the ocean but have not yet been investigated archaeologically, I compare previous archaeological sites to the current erosion data. This map shows density of archaeological sites on the Pecho Coast on top of the elevation change dataset. It can be seen that there is a higher concentration of archaeological sites in the north, with very few to no sites in the south. This is most likely due to the construction of the Diablo Canyon power plant, which sits at the mouth of Diablo Canyon, pictured here, right at the center of that heat circle. Based on this information, it should be noted that future archaeological investigations should take place in the southern region of this coastline, as it has not had as many investigations and the potential for loss of land due to erosion is higher. The lack of archaeological data from this area is most likely due to several factors. First, the Diablo Canyon power plant is the reason that many of the northern sites were investigated, and second, Point San Luis and the area immediately to the north is less accessible than the rest of the Pecho Coast. This is due to the location of the Diablo power plant road that meets the coast about at the mouth of Pecho Creek located between the Bald Knob and Irish Canyon. This report can serve as a reference for future excavations or surveys. It highlights the need for further investigation in the southern portion of the Pecho Coast. A limitation of this report was certainly the loss of the 1998 dataset and the relatively short temporal range covered by the DEM datasets. Future work in relation to this report should include more elevation data from a range of years. Perhaps with more data, the region that is most vulnerable to erosion and site loss could be narrowed down and provide exact regions where archaeological sites are most likely to exist and loss to the ocean is more imminent. I hope this report has been informative, and thank you for watching.